It was nice out there. Is that your phone?
Yeah, it's off.
It's fine.
Okay, we're gonna roll. So far, a couple pretty good days of practice. I think this game will be a real test to see kind of and challenge more than anything to see where what kind of leadership we have, just how our locker room handles it. Obviously, the different things emotionally that they've done and gone through up and down, recovery of what occurred last week, obviously an emotional game, and now getting ready to go on the road, playing the team right now. It's in the driver's seat for the East. These guys won a Eastern Conference game on the road. Now they get to come home, and obviously, as all our goals are, is win all your home games. And obviously playing very well. But I think the biggest challenge, as we kind of look at it, is to see what leadership is on our team, to see how they handle the hostile environment, see how our young guys who haven't really played a conference game on the road, it's called the way it is, see how those guys handle it. It's going to be a great night. I know, this is what makes it fun. You go to a sold-out arena, on the road. That's why you do this stuff, man. This is fun. So, be interesting to see where our team is. I'll do some housekeeping for you here in regards to injuries. How's that? Okay, gonna hit all that. We'll make sure we threw that disclaimer out there.
It's
right
definitely
now.
housekeeping.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Robbie, you asked me this morning, no difference, concussion protocol, which we, go by the T and we'll find out. He's been out there, had his helmet on, gone through individual drills, but he was able to do that because of where he's at in his testing. So we'll find out from there moving forward. Goolsby should be 100% going back. Let's see. Oh, we talked about you. Oh, Kylan Johnson, we thought might have had a little bit. We're going to really test it a little bit more tomorrow, but I would say doubtful, and probably doubtful because you're short with the 70-man roster that if they can't go and play, you can't use that seat on the bus, because you got to take guys that are going to help you at some form, whether it's special teams, whatever that might be. So yet to be seen, but if he did go, he'd be very limited anyway. Really, I think I'm sure you guys have heard about stuff that I haven't. So is that about it? I mean, I don't see any other things that are earth-shattering on here that would make a guy not play. Okay?
I'm out.
You good?
I'm out.
You're out.
Thomas?
I'm curious, why do you say Kentucky's in the driver's seat?
Well, I think it's pretty easy. Simple to say. Number one, because they beat a team on the road that's in our side of the conference. That is huge, because now you start to think about hold and serve at home. And when you look at the schedule as it lays out, it's pretty favorable from that standpoint. So the fact that they have won that road game really puts them right now atop everything this early in the year.
So having said that, a win for you guys on the road would put you in the driver's seat, correct?
I think anytime anybody does that, that's absolutely correct. And I think any coach will tell you that. Now, what does the driver's seat mean? It means you got to go win the next one, right? It simply means that. But at the same time, you sure put yourself in a position to be at that spot towards the end. Yeah. That was a nice try trying to catch it and twist it. That was pretty good.
That wasn't bad.
That wasn't bad, was it?
It was very good.
Yeah. And he just waiting, just I can see it just so he can plaster it. I love it.
The Kentucky run defense last year, you guys pretty much gashed it.
Yeah, we played good last year. I mean, you go back and look at what our guys did. I thought they played with energy. You know, but then you take a look at where they're statistically this year. They've totally, you know, not changed what they've done, okay, at all. But players are believing they're playing the way it should be, and you know, I'll tell you, this staff has done an outstanding job. I mean, his years that he's been there, they've built it to this, and I'll say it even back to when we played against them when I was in another school in this league. By far the best overall Kentucky team that they've had there in a long time.
Now, you mentioned leadership. It was something a couple of us were speaking about one day. I mean, who are you identifying as leaders? I mean, Marcel, I know you were counting on.
Yeah.
There may be some other guys. I mean, you have a freshman quarterback. I mean, where's the leadership coming from, you think?
Well, you know, that's yet to be determined, and there's the challenge. As I said, Edgar, you learn about your team, especially when it's as youthful as ours is, you know, from that standpoint. But then who are the guys that are going to step up and say, look, this is the way it's going to be, this is the way it's got to be. I think that evolves as it moves forward, and this is one of those challenges, I think, for our locker room to find out where we're at.
I was just wondering if there was a guy or two you were looking toward.
You know, it's interesting because I think leadership itself is not something said, it's something that's earned, it's something that's respected, and it's also something that kind of takes a life of its own and morphs. I morphs into who is that, who are those guys, who are those, you know, that group, and yet it's not. Sometimes we sit and say, well, I'm not ready because I'm a young guy or whatever, I'm not a senior. Well, it's not like we got a lot of seniors anyway. You know, at some point, the guys that have played here, that are invested in it, anybody can do that. It'd be interesting to see who steps up.
Go ahead, Jordan.
You guys are facing a mobile quarterback in Kentucky this week.
And you know what? Playing really efficiently. You know, when you watch what he did in that South Carolina game, he took exactly what the defense gave him. All right. When it wasn't there was a huge third down in the game. You know that hits me. You know, where they had everybody locked up. Late in the game, he goes down, and the thing I liked is knowing the situation where they had an opportunity then to burn the clock out, where he went down actually to eat clock up for them. I mean, this guy is really playing at a high level.
With that being said, with the team being able to go against Malik for the last 2 months, how much do you think that helps Malik's yard?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think those things really help our defense, and we were able to do some of that stuff this week as well with that. As you know, we practice a lot too, you know, with goods on goods. Yeah. So that was an opportunity to, you know, run our stuff, but give them a look at that type of player.
Kevin.
Yeah, you know, first two games, the defense is kind of worn down a little bit, second half, fourth quarter. How much do you look at reps in that regard, and just how is your depth?
Well, I think we're rolling guys through pretty good. Obviously, the linebackers have taken some hits, right? I mean, but we knew that going in. You know, we knew we were going to be in that situation. We need some guys to step up. I think it's really good to hear, you know, see Rashard, you know, Jackson come in and play the way he did. I thought that was a huge bonus for us, especially with Kylan down, and then obviously Moshan was down, and David went down, and Garce came in, you know, so, but at the same time, what you got to do is you got to start to win a little bit of time on possession and keep them off the field.
Thomas?
I know we asked a lot of questions about what's not working. What were you impressed with from week 1 to week 3 in terms of the jump?
You know, I think the first start was the mental attitude towards, you know, if something didn't just work immediately, then it would just fall apart. Thought that energy was there pretty good. We actually stayed a little better on some double teams than I kind of thought originally. All right, and I think the communication from the center part was much better. You know, I think our decision making at quarterback, thought he stared it down, especially when it started to kind of become, you know, a little tight in there. Which, you know what, he's just got to learn through experience and keep rolling. You know, Edgar talked about the ball security. Obviously, that can't happen. If you don't put the ball on the ground there, it might be a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, let's call it the way it is, right? I mean, let's
Yeah.
just call it the way it is. So, as you know, good football teams take care of the football. And obviously, in 2 games, we put it on the ground.
Ryan, we're going
Building off that, how do you balance holding Malik accountable for the fumble, but also wanting to get him more involved because of what he's shown so far?
Well, I think the big thing, I think last year we might have jumped the gun a little bit on Mark, you know, for putting the ball on the ground early. Look, they aren't trying to, right? But what you can do is now critically, you know, go through the techniques that it takes to, you know, squeeze it and know that you're on a run like that, you're not out of trouble until you're 5 yards deep in the end zone. First coach I ever had. You run through the end zone before you ever think about anything. How many times have you seen these guys, even in the last couple of years, you know, they get down to the, you know, drop it or do whatever, rather just run through the end zone. I mean, if you do that, you know, everything's good.
And then we saw McWilliams on the field late in the game, obviously. If Duke can't go, is he the third cornerback you would rotate in there?
Well, he was actually in quite a bit too at nickel, you know, and that was a position we were working him at early. So he'll continue to do that as well. And then obviously Putu's got to be prepared, and he's had a good week practice.
So mostly nickel for McWilliams, and then Putu would probably be the third
corner.
Okay.
Edgar?
So I think looking and going into the first game, maybe it was 4 seniors were starting, I believe, and Duke might not play, as you said. Is that just a sign of the times, or is it a low number?
No, I think if you look around college football at a lot of the, you know, elite programs, I think there's guys. I mean, just look at the sheer numbers of guys that are coming out after their 3rd year and not using that senior year. You know, we were fortunate, obviously early, you know, when we had some guys come back. I mean, Jared last year, I think, and obviously who would have thought that he was going to get hurt, but obviously him coming back, it actually helped him when you look at where he went in the draft. Bullard was another example of that. But when I do think this, Edgar, I think it's headed that way no matter what. That usually you're not going to have a huge senior class. I think that's just the way it's going to be. But you know what? I'm glad we had the ones we had, you know.
I think it was 13 sophomores and freshmen too. Does that seem like a lot? I guess what I'm trying to get at, like you're talking young team.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty obvious. And yet, I'm not, that's not those guys, that's not any kind of an excuse. It is what it is, right? And those guys just have to play like veterans. You know, as I told them, look, you played in an NFL stadium, you played in the swamp. Now you got to go play on the road in conference. I mean, that's fun. You know, that's what this is all about. Where you get a little nervous is that communication piece that those veterans kind of bring, especially if Duke isn't able to go. But with that, we know that, so it's something to really stress, and to hear the guys talk out of practice is really important.
What's it say about a guy? We've seen Malik Zaire like at the end of practice a couple of times, and last week I was on the phone with my editor. I mean, he's like the last walking out in the distance coming off the field. I mean, it seems like he's the last guy on the field every day.
No, he's working. Luke's working hard. Like I said, that's a good room. And those guys all came here to play. There's no doubt about it. And yet, you know, there's one guy out there at a time. So it's how you choose to deal with it. And those guys are both of them doing great, studying the game plan, knowing the game plan, and they're going to be prepared if that time comes.
Ryan?
Building off that, you know, obviously Malik came here to play. Have you seen it affect him at all that he's happened to now wait? Have you had any conversations with him about?
Well, I think, you know, obviously I mean, you're asking, of course, you want to play, you know? Shit, I want to play, right? I mean, when you played, did you want to play? Or did you want to just stand there, right? But the key is how you deal with that. And he's dealing with it like a pro. He's doing a good job.
And then going back to Putu, we haven't seen much of him yet. What progress have you seen from him, and how ready do you feel he is to step in for a series if he has to?
I will say this, based on practice, here's what happens to guys, and I think it's interesting, you kind of touched on it. So it's a feelings hurt when they don't play. Well, you don't play a lot of times based on sometimes your production in practice. When they start to realize that, the more you pout and don't do anything, well, all you're doing is burying yourself more. But rather go work on your craft and show that you are prepared, and Putu's done that. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, sorry.
We can't hear Nick. He's going to sign
Yeah,
it.
how much do you personally kind of enjoy that road atmosphere with that hostility, booze?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. That's kind of wired different. I love it. I know as a player, I relished playing on the road. I truly enjoyed playing on the road more than I did at home. Why? I don't know. I think it's just using the energy of the opposition that hates you, right, for those 3 hours. But you know, with that uniform on, the hostility. I don't know how you can't love it, and I don't know how you don't play better on the road. I mean, honestly, and yet it affects people differently, right? You asked personally. It didn't matter what the sport was. My best games were always on the road, and I think it was because I just enjoyed people getting after you. I think that's the way it should be.
And then I asked you after the game Saturday, you said you need to watch the tape. Any impact you think of having us up in the press box?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I thought there were some really good adjustments, especially going into the fourth quarter on some things, and you know, we'll continue to work that way. And you know, like I said, we got plain and simple to not turn the football over. You know, it's anytime you do that, you're stealing plays from yourself. I think somebody asked it the other day about, well, you know, part of that is you're losing, you know, anywhere from 7 to 14 plays every time you put it on the ground. So, you know, it's just something you can't do. And like I said, they're not trying to do it, right? But one case was an unbelievable play. I'll give that guy credit. I mean, let's call it the way it is. I want that guy on my team, you know, and we showed it to our guys. Okay? Just like we showed Ja'Kai Polite's play where he's the farthest guy away from the screen or whatever it was, and he goes and makes a play. That's what good football teams do. And I think anytime you have an opportunity to show, it's really important. So, all right, thanks.
Thanks, Steve.